Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village, lived two men, Thomas and Peter. Thomas was known for his kind heart and hard work, while Peter, his next-door neighbor, was infamous for his envy and laziness. Thomas had a small garden that he lovingly tended to each day, and it flourished under his care. His vegetables were the biggest, and his fruits the sweetest, attracting attention from all the villagers. Peter, on the other hand, didn't like to work. He would often look at Thomas's garden with resentment, envious of his neighbor's success. One evening, after a long day of work, Thomas sat by his garden, wiping sweat off his brow and admiring the fruits of his labor. As he rested, an old man appeared on the road leading to his house. The man was dressed in rags, but his eyes sparkled with a wisdom that seemed timeless. Thomas greeted him warmly and offered him some water and food, noticing the weariness on the man's face. After finishing his meal, the old man said, "Thomas, you are a good man. I want to give you a gift." He pulled out a small, smooth stone from his pocket. It looked ordinary at first, just a round, gray stone. But when the old man handed it to Thomas, it glowed faintly in the fading sunlight. "This is a magical stone," he explained. "Anything you wish for while holding this stone will come true. But use it wisely. Good things come from hard work and sincerity." With that, the old man disappeared as mysteriously as he had arrived, leaving Thomas bewildered but grateful. The next morning, Thomas decided to test the stone's powers. Holding it tightly, he wished for rain to water his plants. Instantly, dark clouds gathered overhead, and soon a gentle rain began to fall. Delighted, Thomas realized that the stone really was magical. He felt a deep sense of responsibility and decided he would use it only for things that would benefit his garden and help the people around him. Over the next few weeks, Thomas used the stone sparingly and wisely. His garden grew even more vibrant, and he shared the extra fruits and vegetables with his neighbors. Word spread about Thomas's generosity and the miraculous growth of his garden. People came from nearby villages to marvel at the sight, wondering how he had managed such a feat. Peter, however, grew increasingly envious. He noticed that no matter how hard he tried to grow his own garden, his plants never matched the quality of Thomas's. He couldn't understand how Thomas's garden flourished so effortlessly. Fueled by his jealousy, Peter started spying on Thomas, hoping to uncover his secret. One evening, Peter finally saw Thomas holding the stone and whispering a wish. Realizing the power of the stone, Peter's mind filled with greed. He hatched a plan to steal it, thinking that if he had the stone, he would have everything Thomas had, and more. That night, while Thomas was asleep, Peter snuck into his garden and took the stone from where Thomas had left it. The next morning, Peter held the stone tightly and wished for his garden to be as beautiful and bountiful as Thomas's. To his delight, his wish came true instantly. His garden was filled with vibrant fruits and vegetables, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Overjoyed, he spent the day boasting to anyone who would listen, claiming that he had finally found the secret to successful gardening. But Peter's greed soon got the better of him. He wanted more. He wished for a grand house, wealth, and fame. Each time he wished, the stone granted his desires. Soon, his humble home turned into a grand mansion, and he wore the finest clothes, eating the richest foods. He felt on top of the world, basking in his newfound luxury. However, with each wish, Peter grew lazier and greedier. He stopped working entirely, relying on the stone to fulfill his every whim. His once friendly demeanor turned arrogant, and he looked down upon his fellow villagers, who began to resent his behavior. Meanwhile, Thomas, though saddened by the loss of the stone, continued to work hard in his garden, tending to his plants with the same love and care as before. As the weeks passed, Peter noticed that things were beginning to change. His garden, once so lush and green, started to wither, and his fruits turned bitter. His grand mansion began to crumble, and his wealth seemed to disappear as quickly as it had come. The stone's magic, it seemed, was fading. Desperate, Peter tried to make more wishes, but nothing happened. Panicked, Peter went to Thomas and confessed everything. He told him how he had stolen the stone out of envy and begged for his help. Thomas listened patiently, a look of understanding on his face. He explained, "The stone's magic comes from the heart of the person who holds it. You used it out of greed, and that's why it's turning against you." Realizing his mistakes, Peter felt deep regret. He asked Thomas for forgiveness, and to his surprise, Thomas forgave him, seeing that Peter was genuinely remorseful. Together, they buried the stone in the ground, where it could no longer be used by anyone for selfish purposes. From that day on, Peter changed his ways. He worked alongside Thomas in the garden, learning the value of hard work and kindness. Their friendship blossomed, and the village saw a transformation in Peter's character. He became generous and caring, sharing his harvest with those in need and earning the respect and affection of his neighbors. As the years passed, Peter and Thomas continued to work side by side, creating a garden that was more beautiful and bountiful than ever. Though the magical stone was gone, the magic of their friendship and hard work brought joy and prosperity to the village for generations to come.